February State of the Galaxy. And this is a big boy too. There's a lot of stuff that happened this month. It almost feels like 2 months in one, how much stuff I gotta talk about. So, for starters, if you pay attention to any of my videos normally, not to sidetrack, but I look like I'm looking off in the distance. Where's my camera really at? Where am I supposed to look? No, anyways though. If you pay attention to any of my videos, then you would have seen that I was promoted to guild leader of my guild, Chosen1s, a couple months back now. Basically what had happened is I've been in that guild since day one of guilds being launched. At the time of when guilds were launched, I wasn't sure if I wanted to make my own guild or join a guild. I'm not somebody who likes to be a follower. I wouldn't really say I'm a leader, but I like to be in a position of some sort of authority, decision making, and make my own path, not go with the flow. So I didn't know what to do, and I ended up just joining the guild that I'm in because this is when guilds are new, so I didn't know if there was some kind of fee that you'd have to pay to join a guild. Make a guild or what have you. Even if there's maintenance fees, I didn't know. It was a new mode, and I'm like, what the flip is this? So I joined my guild. Well, it's worked out pretty good. We've been a pretty solid guild, laid back, easygoing. We grew. Everybody was roughly the same power, so we kind of grew together. And we got to a point where we were doing pretty well. Well, throughout the course of this guild, we've had a couple shakeups. The first one was a couple years ago now. At the time, the officers that we had and some of the regular members, they get all weird, and I don't know, they turned into a bunch of bullies, and they were just harassing everybody, and it got bad. And then they got to the point where one of them kicked everyone out and then kicked himself out, but luckily somebody had allied us, so they sent out the invites so we could all come back, the ones that we wanted to come back, not the idiots that were starting all this trouble. But yeah, so that was the first shakeup. Now we lost half our guild at that time, but what happened is there was another guild, I forget what it's called. We used to go by an acronym, I think it was LCL, I don't remember what that stood for. But they kind of had a situation going on as well, only it was almost backwards. Instead of the officers being like bullies, it was like the officers were doing their own thing, and the rest were doing their own thing, and they just wanted to split off and just join a funner guild. So that's what happened. They came to us, and it helped us stay strong and helped us continue to grow. And we reached a newer plateau now with Galactic Legends. We were starting to get people in the guild that had Galactic Legends. I think mostly one. Most people in our guild only had one, because we're a free-to-play guild. We don't really put money into the game. So, but yeah. And over this time, our first leader, the original founder of that guild, was Mike Howell. And then I think he gave up on the game. I don't know if it was for personal reasons or his job or what have you, but he gave it to Flaximus. So then Flax was our leader for a couple of years. And then, was it with this shakeup? No, right before this massive shakeup, for some reason he wanted to step down, so he handed it off to this guy, Kroll. I'll back up to Flaximus a little bit. Flax was actually the first leader that promoted me to officer, so he's always got a special place for making me be officer. And then when Kroll came along, though, he demoted me back to member, and then I understand what the point of that was. I asked him both in global chat, and then I sent him a direct message as well, and he never answered me. So, opposite of Flax, because of what he did, I have a special place in my heart for him like that. F you, Kroll. He's one of my allies, and I think about unallying him because of what he's done. But the only reason I don't is because I feel like, well, he is a former guild member, and it's probably handy to have allies, so I just leave him there. But every time I scroll by his name, it's like, hey, Kroll! But anyways, Kroll didn't last very long. He was only our leader for, I don't know, what was he our leader for? Maybe 3 months, 4 months? A short time. And what happened is that's when we had our second mass exodus. A lot of people in the guild left. A lot of like our top players left, players with Galactic Legends and what have you. They all left, and it was weird how they coordinated this because there was nothing in the chats. There was nothing. Well, I can't say I was an officer. I don't know because they demoted me. Maybe that's why I got demoted, so then I could be out of the loop. Who knows? But there was nothing in the chats. There was nothing on Discord. It just somehow happened. Like I almost feel like maybe what happened is they sent private messages to everybody. Maybe that's what happened, and so they were coordinating within the guild, but privately, so we all didn't see. But anyways, a bunch of these players left, and it was like our strong guys. So we went from being I don't want to say a powerhouse guild, but a pretty solid guild, down to crap, basically. And by default, our next guild leader was Mr. Saltine, because I guess at this point he was like the only remaining officer. So when Kroll wanted to leave, you have to hand off the reins to somebody else before you can go. So Mr. Saltine won by default. So now when Mr. Saltine took over, luckily he was cool and re-promoted me back to officer, and he promoted a few other people as well, because he had nobody at that point. And he was the last officer, now he's the leader, so we had nobody. So that's when I started hitting him up. Well, not started, but just sent him a couple messages, and I said, hey, if you ever think about leaving the guild, I only did this because we had that huge mass exodus, so I didn't know if he was going to plan on leaving, and like Kroll was only a short-term leader, so I was like, if you ever think about leaving, can you consider handing the reins over to me? I've been in this guild since day one. I care about this guild, and I feel it would be fitting and only fair. I mean, I didn't tell anybody about this channel that I have, but even that, I have this channel as well, so it's just more ammo for the, what's the word I'm looking for? More ammo for the rationale to let me be the leader. So anyways, that's when he said, if you want it now, I'll give it to you. And I was like, no, I'm not trying to steal your fire from you. I mean, I'm just saying that the day comes that you're like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. Can you consider me? And he was like, well, that day's now. I don't want to be the leader. I got it by default. So he handed it off to me, and obviously that means he had to leave the guild, but he's like, just make sure after I promote you, you let me back in. Well, it happened super quick, and by the time he handed the reins off to me, someone else had already let him back in the guild, because he was already there. I didn't have to do anything. So I re-promoted him right away to officer. 1, he was officer all along anyways, and 2, I just thought that would be weird to go from leader to member. And 3, I mean, I only felt like it was the right thing to do. He handed me an awesome position, so I'm not going to just give him the middle finger. So, anyhow, that's how I became the leader. Well, what ended up happening is, like I said, we lost a lot of our power. I mean, we went from being like 170 million GP total down to like 100. We lost a fair amount of strong players. We went from a full guild of 50, we'd linger around 48 to 50 guild members, all the way down to, what did we have, like 33 or something, 35. And then over time, it would just keep getting lower and lower and lower, because like new guild members would join, which is cool, but they would be weak. They'd be like at 1 million GP or under. A lot of new people came in that were way under. I'm talking about 500,000 GP. Like, that is a new player. My second account that I have, the Darth Sidious Clark Jr. channel, the one that I do the replay videos with, I'm almost at 500,000 there. And like, I'm weak. I would not consider myself strong in that game at all. And that's what we were attracting. So our guild started to go downhill, and we kept losing people. And the more strong people we lost, the more weak people we were gaining. So it came to a point where everybody that was strong and still remained, I had promoted to officer. And then I promoted one doofus, Deadpool. He had some number after it, like 1918 or something like that. He was weak. He was almost 1 million GP, but I figured, well, maybe we should get proper representation of everybody. So since a lot of weak people are here, let's get a weak person to be an officer, just so that we then, it's someone that the weaker people can relate to. You know what I mean? Like, these weak players at 500,000 GP aren't going to be able to relate to someone like me who's at 5.2 million. I'm way out of their league. But someone like Deadpool, who's only double their GP, they can relate to him. So, anyhow, I did that, but then unfortunately, these officers kept dropping off. They'd stick it out, and then they'd be like, sorry, but this just isn't working out, blah, blah, blah. So they'd drop off. Well, as a result, what ended up happening is we were missing out on every territory war, because in order to do a territory war, you need to have 25 people sign up. Well, we had 25 people in our guild. The problem is 1017. The problem is you know how people are. They join a guild, but then they don't participate. And it's like, well, why are you in this guild if you don't want to participate? Like, that defeats the whole purpose. You should be in a guild because you want to get those rewards and help yourself advance and move on, participate in the raids and the territory wars and territory battles and all that, and help the guild, which in turn helps yourself. And these people just weren't participating. We'd have 33 people in the guild, but only 20 people would sign up for territory war. So we kept missing out on territory wars every time. When territory battles came around, forget the Geonosian one. At first, we just weren't even strong enough to do it. Or let me back up. GP-wise, we were still strong enough to do it, but the people that would participate just weren't strong. And then it got to a point where we didn't even have enough GP anymore to even try to. You need to have 100 million GP to be able to, like, register for a Geonosian territory battle. And, you know, we ended up getting down to, like, 75 million. So we couldn't even qualify for it anymore. And then the territory battles that we were doing, you know, those are, the basic ones are easy. We easily used to be able to get like 35 stars. Easily, like people not even really trying, could still get 35 stars. And now we're pulling like 15. And it was like, seriously? It got bad. And then it also got to the point where we couldn't complete the heroic Sith raid anymore. Forget the challenge tier of the pit raid. That wasn't an option anymore. I mean, it never really was, but at least when that first launched, we still had a full guild, so we were able to compete the first time it came out. Then after that, we had nobody strong. We can't do anything in that. I think we put a dent in tier 1, and it was just like, alright, well, this is a waste of our time. And then as far as the pit raid, we weren't able to sim that anymore. Which, pit raid's easy, so it's no problem to compete in. I mean, you can solo the pit raid with a CLS, but on auto, like, that's how easy it is. But still, it's kind of, you feel it when you can't just auto sim it. What's it called? Autocomplete anymore. And then that left the tank raid. Well, with everybody being so weak, basically I can solo the tank raid. I can't do it with one team. I can do it with everybody collectively, but I wouldn't solo it. I would just solo phase 1, 2, and 3, and then leave phase 4, because I figured that's easy. It's an easy enough round in general, and if they can't complete it, we're far enough that I can just hop in and bang it out. 10 minutes, done. Which never was required. Everybody was able to complete that tier just fine. So, the last tank raid that we had, obviously I was in first. I had like 24.5 million points total. And then the person that was in second had a little over 8 million, which was Stabone, one of my officers, and he was, you know, a stronger player as well. Well, after we got the rewards, I went in to check the tank raid again, the rankings, just because sometimes the rankings are delayed. Like, you complete a raid and it says, you know, ooh, you came in third, like, and then, you know, half hour later you check again and it says you're in fifth, and you're like, well, what the heck, I thought I was in third. So I just wanted to see if the rankings were the same, that Stabone was still in second and what have you. And when I went to check, it said Mola Liza. Well, I knew Stabone was in second, and I knew what his score was, and now it's saying Mola Liza with that same score, and I'm like, what? Because when it says Mola Liza, that's the generic name that the game gives you when somebody leaves the guild. So then I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Stabone left? So then I check the roster. I go to my officers and he's not there. And I'm like, he left. And then I check my inbox, and that's when I see there's a messages from him that says, sorry man, I tried to stick it out, but I just can't do this. We keep missing territory wars, and this last time was the last straw for me. And I get it. I can't have bad feelings, but it was just sucked. There was another guy good that we lost, and that brought us down to like 69 million GP total. And I was like, we are becoming such a pathetic guild. We used to be so good, and now we're just trash. So it got me just out of curiosity. I was just browsing around looking for guilds myself. I was like, I don't want to leave, but I don't know what to do. I don't want to stay in a guild that's not getting anywhere either. So I started looking around, and I found this one that had 49 out of 50. One spot left. It didn't require Discord. It sounded super laid back and casual, and I was like, man, this sounds pretty good. And it's called Leroy Jenkins Hunters. I don't understand the Leroy Jenkins. I don't know who that's supposed to be. Is it Star Wars related? I don't know. But anyway, I saw it, and like they seemed exactly like what we used to be when the guild first started. So, needless to say, I just went for it. I left Chosen1s, and now I'm part of Leroy Jenkins Hunters. It was sad because I've been with that guild forever, and I became the leader, but I felt like it was the best option. So anyways, when I left, I ended up handing off the reins to Most Deferens. The guy didn't talk to me or anything. I chose him because I recognized the name. I know he's been in the guild for a while. So I figured, well, I was going to give it to Deadpool. Because I was like, this looks like the direction where the guild's going. It's just new crappy players. So I might as well just give it to a new crappy player. But I was like, no, because there was still a few good players left. And I was like, I don't want to like insult them by handing off the reins to someone who sucks, especially compared to them. So I gave it to Most Deferens. Well, shortly after, Most had he went to Discord and said, hey, does anybody still use this? And then that's when I said, hey, I'm here. And I was worried. I was like, oh man, I hope he's not gonna be mad that I ditched the guild, because that's basically what I did. I mean, I ditched the guild and just gave it to him. Here you go, you're the leader now. No discussion, no nothing, just a rash decision. I went to leave the guild and it said you need to choose somebody to take over. So I was like, okay, Most Deferens, boom, bam, done, bye, see ya. And then here he was coming out, and I'm like, oh god, is he gonna harass me? But he didn't. He was actually wicked cool about the whole situation, and he was just like, oh, I saw you left, and now I'm the officer, lol. I mean the leader, lol. And I'm like, yeah, I chose you because I saw you were in the guild for a while, blah blah. And he was like, well, honestly, I don't want to be the leader. He's like, I don't think I want to be in this guild anymore either. We lost too many good people. He's like, where did you go? And at the time, my guild was full. I mean, I told you it was 49 out of 50. So he's like, well, I'll start looking. And he wanted to join my guild, but it was so difficult trying to coordinate between him and then my guild. Like, I was being a middleman, and I'm trying to coordinate. I don't know the guy in real life, Most. It's not like I could text him. So, like, my guild would be like, hey, is your guy available? And I'd try to hit up him, and he wouldn't answer. And then hours later, he'd answer, but then my guild wouldn't answer. So, I kind of gave up on that about 2 weeks ago now. Sorry, Most. I thought it'd be cool if you could join the guild and continue on so we could be a group still. But it wasn't working out. It was too much hassle being a middleman. So anyways, he did say he left the guild though, and he said, the funny part was he said he was handing the reins off to Deadpool, and I was like, are you serious? That's what I was going to do, but I chose you instead. So apparently now Deadpool is the leader of Chosen1s, and yeah, poor Most, as far as I know, he's not even in a guild. It would be cool if he could be part of my new guild, but like I said, it was just too much logistically. But anyways, yeah, I was just thinking how crazy that was too, though, with my guild. Like, it went from Kroll to Mr. Saltine, Kroll, Mr. Saltine, me, Most Deferens, and now Deadpool. 5 leaders within a matter of like a few months. What's even crazier would have been when I left, because that means it went I left, then Most got it, then he left, and then Deadpool. Most was the leader for like 5 hours. So that must have been weird. Like, if you're in the guild and you just keep seeing the leader change, you're like, oh man, this guild does not seem very promising. Which is sad, because it's not anymore. It was promising, and now it's just falling apart. But yeah, so anyways, all this happened at the beginning of the month. I think it was January 6th when I left the guild. And then I think I last corresponded with Most on the 15th. So, yeah. I mean, my new guild's pretty cool. One thing I really like about the new guild is they, Chosen1s, when we had territory wars, they'd always try to strategize, like, oh, set up only, Geos in this area, set up Jedi in this area. My new guild, they don't care. They just say, set up. Put things out there, let's get some defense. So that's awesome. And they also don't care about, like, limits on how much damage you put in a raid. Again, my My last guild, that's what they worried about all the time. Oh, 2 million damage only. If you go over that, you'll be kicked. I mean, I never had to worry about that for a long time because I was an officer, so it didn't matter. But, like, that was a policy. And this guild is just super laid back. And the best part is no Discord. I think Discord is so stupid. This is a freemium game. Like, they have an in-game chat you can use. You don't need to use an app. Like, the way I see it, this is my phone. You know, this is my memory and stuff. I don't want to have a stupid app on my phone that I don't really need just so I can play a game. So this new guild, no Discord, no nothing. They've been talking about setting up a Discord, but it's just super optional. They're never gonna make it mandatory. Even if they set one up, it's just for anybody who's interested to have. So that's super awesome too. So this guild's pretty cool. The thing that I really just don't like is I'm back to just a member. I've been an officer for like 2 years, plus a leader for 3 months, and now I'm just a nobody again. I'm trying to prove my worth though. Right now we had a territory battles, geo-territory battles, and I placed 2nd place with damage. So I'm like, well, hopefully they see me as an asset, like I'm putting up numbers for them.